The Amazing Spider-Man. Number 1. March 1963. Many heroes exist, but there has never been a hero like Spider-Man. However, some people consider him to be a freak and a public menace. The story opens in Peter Parker's bedroom, where he reflects on the death of Uncle Ben, blaming himself for being too late to save him. Peter glares at his Spider-Man costume, wishing it didn't exist. Peter recalls how it all began, being bitten by a radioactive spider and gaining incredible powers, leading him to create a costume for show business. However, while he performed, a burglar shot Uncle Ben during a robbery. Driven by vengeance, Spider-Man hunted down the killer and handed him to the police. Now, Peter and Aunt May are left alone, and Peter worries about their future. As Peter watches, Aunt May begs their landlord for more time to pay rent, illuminating their growing financial struggles. Peter Parker decides he must leave school to get a job and help Aunt May, but she insists he continue his studies, honoring Uncle Ben's dream for him to become a scientist. Peter wrestles internally, realizing that as Spider-Man, he could easily steal for money, but rejects the idea, knowing it would break Aunt May's heart. He resolves instead to return to public performances as Spider-Man. A few days later at school, Peter's classmates excitedly discuss Spider-Man's upcoming show. When invited, Peter declines, choosing to focus on his studies. His classmates tease him, calling him a walking bookworm and saying it'll be more fun without him. That night, Spider-Man performs his acrobatic show before an amazed audience, while Peter Parker internally notes he obviously can't be seen attending. After the show, the manager tries to pay Spider-Man by check, but when Spider-Man refuses to reveal his real name, the manager warns it'll be tough to cash it. At the bank, Spider-Man's attempt to cash the check fails because he has no proper identification, and the teller dismisses the costume as meaningless. Meanwhile, at a typewriter, a man drafts a newspaper article vowing to run Spider-Man out of town. The next night, Spider-Man learns that his show has been canceled, and he overhears that public opinion is rapidly turning against him. Spider-Man is shown a newspaper editorial labeling him a menace, leaving him confused and frustrated. Jonah Jameson, publisher of the Daily Bugle, not only writes damning articles but gives public lectures condemning Spider-Man as a dangerous influence on children. Jameson claims Spider-Man encourages lawlessness and declares that the masked hero must be outlawed. Holding up his son, astronaut John Jameson, as a true example of heroism, Jameson insists that Spider-Man's refusal to reveal his identity makes him untrustworthy. Meanwhile, Peter Parker overhears other students debating Spider-Man's legitimacy, with some dismissing him as a publicity stunt. Peter Parker scans the want ads, hoping to find a part-time job, but faces rejection because he's seen as just a school kid. While on the street, Peter spots Aunt May entering a pawn shop and secretly observes her selling her jewelry. Realizing she's desperate for money but trying not to burden him, Peter feels guilty and frustrated over his inability to help. A newspaper headline announces that John Jameson, son of Jonah Jameson, is preparing for a rocket flight. Peter blames Jameson for making it impossible for Spider-Man to perform publicly and earn money. Nevertheless, Peter resolves not to give up and vows to find a way to earn cash, even if it means Spider-Man must return to action. Peter Parker joins a crowd of spectators watching preparations for John Jameson's rocket flight. Some in the crowd comment on the courage it must take, joking that even Spider-Man might hesitate before volunteering. Nearby, Jonah Jameson gives his son a proud farewell, encouraging him to make the country proud. John promises to do his best as he prepares for launch. With final checks complete, the capsule containing John Jameson blasts off successfully into orbit, with everyone watching the flawless liftoff. Disaster strikes when a section of John Jameson's capsule breaks loose, causing the ship to spiral uncontrollably through space. Inside, John realizes the guidance system is lost, and he can no longer direct the capsule. At mission control, panicked officials confirm that a critical component has broken free, sending the capsule into a lowering orbit that will end in a crash. Despite desperate efforts to catch the capsule with a steel net, the plan fails. Officials urgently search for another solution. Meanwhile, Peter Parker, having observed the crisis unfold, recognizes that he alone, through Spider-Man's abilities, may be able to save John Jameson's life. Donning his Spider-Man costume, Peter Parker sets out quickly, knowing he must reach the missile control center through the fastest way only Spider-Man can manage. Swinging across rooftops, he arrives just as technicians lament that, although they have a spare 24 3B guidance unit, there's no way to deliver it to the capsule in time. Spider-Man interrupts, offering to deliver the unit himself. The officials, desperate, agree. Jonah Jameson voices skepticism, accusing Spider-Man of being a publicity-seeking phony. Spider-Man dismisses the accusations, boldly telling them to watch what he can do as he leaps into action. With the capsule dropping lower by the second, Spider-Man swings urgently across the city, determined to reach a jet. At a nearby airfield, he immobilizes a guard with his webbing before the sentry can react. Wasting no time, Spider-Man commandeers a jet plane and its pilot. As they soar into the air, the pilot expresses doubts about catching the capsule, but Spider-Man reassures him they don't need to catch it, only get close. Standing atop the moving jet, Spider-Man prepares to leap onto the passing capsule, knowing it's his only chance. Bracing himself, he remarks that if it fails, the consequences could be disastrous. Perched atop the speeding jet, Spider-Man shoots a web line and successfully snags the descending capsule. As the jet falls away below, he clings to the line with determination, battling fierce wind resistance. Slowly, with great effort, he pulls himself toward the capsule's surface. Even with his remarkable strength, the task strains him to his limit. Finally reaching the capsule, Spider-Man clings to it as it hurtles through the sky. But the situation remains critical. The capsule is rapidly losing altitude. Knowing time is running out, Spider-Man wonders if he can attach the missing guidance unit in time to prevent a crash. As Spider-Man clings to the speeding capsule, he successfully fits the replacement guidance unit into place. It locks in smoothly, just as the capsule hurtles downward through the sky. Inside the capsule, John Jameson regains manual control, preparing to eject the parachute and land safely. Outside, Spider-Man watches as the chute opens, slowing the capsule's descent. As ground control cheers Spider-Man's success, John Jameson's father beams with pride, relieved his son is safe. Spider-Man swings clear of the capsule just before it lands, joking to himself about the unique ride. Deciding to avoid attention, he slips away quietly. Later, Peter Parker, feeling optimistic, imagines he'll have no trouble finding public acceptance now. Maybe even Jonah Jameson will hire him. However, his hopes are crushed the next morning when he reads the newspaper. To his shock, the Daily Bugle headline demands Spider-Man's arrest and prosecution, written by Jameson himself. Peter stares in disbelief, struggling to understand the betrayal. Jonah Jameson publicly accuses Spider-Man of sabotaging the space mission to steal the spotlight from his son, John Jameson. Jameson claims Spider-Man illegally broke into a military base and commandeered a plane, setting the space program back. His angry denunciations sway public opinion, and soon, newspapers and posters label Spider-Man a dangerous menace, calling for his capture. Even Aunt May expresses fear of Spider-Man. Peter Parker wrestles with despair, questioning how he can prove his innocence. Everything he attempts as Spider-Man seems to turn against him. Faced with public hatred, Peter wonders if he must truly become the menace they believe him to be. In our second story, Spider-Man battles the Chameleon. How can Spider-Man defeat a man who can change his identity before capture? Spider-Man is determined to find out, no matter the cost. Peter, Palmer, considers how to make money and decides to join the Fantastic Four. He imagines they'll be eager to add a teenager with superpowers. Arriving at their building, he finds the private elevator unusable without their special electronic beam. Undeterred, he forces open a couple of locked doors but finds himself stuck, needing a better plan. Minutes later, suited up as Spider-Man, he reaches a rooftop and prepares to tight web walk toward the Fantastic Four's headquarters. A crowd below notices him, excited to witness Spider-Man in action. Meanwhile, an alarm blares inside the Fantastic Four's ready room, warning them that someone is trying to sneak in as the team prepares for trouble. Inside the Fantastic Four's headquarters, the team watches Spider-Man on their view screens. The Thing jokes about him being a show-off like the Human Torch. Spider-Man easily finds an open window and swings in, jokingly greeting the team. Instantly, a plexiglass cage drops over him, but Spider-Man easily smashes out. The Thing tries to grab him, but Spider-Man dodges. A scuffle starts, with Spider-Man noting he has the proportional strength of a spider. The Thing throws a punch but holds back, and Spider-Man flips him over. Mr. Fantastic stretches to intervene, but Spider-Man quickly ensnares his hand in webbing, impressing Reed Richards with how well Spider-Man lives up to his name. The Invisible Girl tries to lasso Spider-Man with a rope while unseen, but Spider-Man's spider sense warns him just in time. He dodges, realizing it must be her, and flips away. Suddenly, the Human Torch flames on and encircles Spider-Man with a ring of fire. Spider-Man leaps over the flames, keeping ahead of the torch's attacks. Mr. Fantastic finally steps in, calling an end to the scuffle before someone gets hurt, and asks Spider-Man why he's there. Spider-Man explains he wants to join the Fantastic Four and shows off his abilities, then asks about the salary, believing he deserves top pay. However, the Fantastic Four inform him they are a non-profit organization and don't offer salaries. Feeling misunderstood, Spider-Man angrily swings away. As Spider-Man departs, the Fantastic Four express regret, with Sue suggesting they might hear more from him in the future. Meanwhile, at a defense installation, the Chameleon uses a disguise to sneak past security by impersonating a janitor, then quickly assumes the identity of a professor, noting he can steal anything, anytime unchallenged. At his hideout later, the Chameleon boasts that no place is secure from him and monitors news reports speculating about Spider-Man possibly joining the Fantastic Four. The Chameleon realizes that public rumor could benefit him. Plotting, he decides that Spider-Man, now seen as desperate for legitimacy, will make an ideal scapegoat for his next theft of military plans, ensuring Spider-Man takes the blame. The Chameleon prepares a device to send a signal that only Spider-Man's spider senses can detect. From a museum exhibit, Peter senses the call and decides to investigate, eager for any profitable opportunity. Peter changes into his Spider-Man costume and swings to the location. Meanwhile, the Chameleon overpowers an elevator operator, taking his place at a defense building. The Chameleon, posing as Spider-Man, brazenly demands and steals the missile defense plans and quickly webs up the real operator, using a fake web formula that's weaker but visually convincing, intending to frame Spider-Man for the theft. The bound man cries for help, claiming Spider-Man is escaping with stolen plans. The Chameleon, disguised, reaches the rooftop and boards a helicopter, escaping just before the real Spider-Man can intervene. Spider-Man notices the departing helicopter and realizes something feels wrong. On the rooftop, officers confront Spider-Man, accusing him of theft. Spider-Man webs them up to make a quick escape, realizing too late that he was tricked into a setup. Swinging across the city, he pieces it together. The helicopter pilot is the real criminal. Using his spider sense to trace the helicopter's direction, Spider-Man spots it heading toward the waterfront and vows to intercept it. Spider-Man devises a plan to catch the helicopter quickly, launching himself with a web-lined slingshot for a high-speed start. As the helicopter reaches the sea, Spider-Man creates a web parachute to float safely onto a motorboat below. Minutes later, he spots the helicopter nearing a surfacing Russian submarine. Spider-Man webs over the conning tower, preventing the hatch from opening. The submarine crew panics, deciding to submerge without the stolen plans. Spider-Man then swings toward the helicopter, clinging on as the pilot maneuvers wildly. Despite the pilot's attempts, Spider-Man rips off the helicopter door with his bare hands and demands the pilot steer back toward shore immediately. As police gather on the rooftop, Spider-Man points out the real thief, the Chameleon in disguise. However, in the next instant, the Chameleon throws down a smoke pellet and slips away amid the confusion, planning to adopt a new disguise. The police lock down the building and begin searching every room. Disguising himself as a policeman, the Chameleon believes he can easily slip past them. Meanwhile, Spider-Man's instincts warn him that his target is nearby. The Chameleon, realizing Spider-Man is onto him, attempts to cut the lights to aid his escape. Spider-Man remains confident he can track him even in the dark, but when he tries to shoot his web, he discovers he's completely out of web fluid. In the darkness, Spider-Man races to intercept the fleeing Chameleon. He spots a figure slipping away from the group. As the lights come back on, the Chameleon shouts for the police to catch the Chameleon disguised as Spider-Man, hoping to confuse them. In the scuffle, Spider-Man breaks free from the police, scales a wall, and leaves the real Chameleon behind. The police quickly realize the truth when they see the torn disguise under the Chameleon's costume. Disheartened, Spider-Man vanishes into the night, regretting ever gaining his powers. Meanwhile, the Fantastic Four read about Spider-Man and wonder if he will one day use his abilities for good or for crime.